Fleet Commander Vorex P. Lath stared at the holographic battle map, watching as another one of his battle cruisers winked out of existence. His four-fingered hand trembled slightly as he brought his stimulant cup to his lipless mouth. The bitter liquid did nothing to wash away the taste of defeat. Who would have thought? He muttered to no one in particular. Who would have possibly thought those hairless apes could do this? His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Thrax, kept a respectful distance. Nobody wanted to be near the fleet commander when he was in one of his moods. Especially not now, with half the fleet gone and the other half running scared. "Sir," Thrax ventured cautiously, "the High Council is demanding another update." Vorex snorted, a sound like gravel in a processor. "Tell them what they already know. Tell them we underestimated the humans. Again." Again. The Zeptarian Empire had stood unchallenged for over 12,000 cycles. From the crystal spires of Zeptar Prime, the Empire had spread across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy like a beautiful, unstoppable plague. 15 species subjugated. 37 worlds terraformed to Zeptarian specifications. Resources extracted, populations controlled, resistance crushed. It had always been so easy. "When we first encountered their world," Vorex said, "lost in memory, our xenobiologists classified them as primitive bipeds with delusions of significance. Remember that report, Thrax?" I laughed when I read it. Thrax nodded, mandibles clicking nervously. "We all did, sir." The first contact had been textbook. The Zeptarian scout ship detected their radio signals, observed them for a standard cycle, and reported back. A technologically developing species, still burning fossil fuels, fighting among themselves over arbitrary planetary divisions. Their most advanced weapons were crude nuclear devices and chemically propelled projectiles. In other words, a species ripe for inclusion in the Empire. The High Emperor himself said they would make excellent mining stock, Vorex continued, taking another swig of his stimulant. Strong enough for labor, but not advanced enough to pose any threat. The standard procedure was elegant in its simplicity. First, establish a foothold on a natural satellite or nearby planet. Second, demonstrate overwhelming technological superiority. Third, demand submission or face extinction. Fourth, accept their inevitable surrender and begin the integration process. It had worked 15 times before. 15 species now served the Empire, their planets providing resources, their populations providing labor, and their militaries incorporated into the ever-expanding Zeptarian war machine. "Did we ever lose a single ship during the Calraxi subjugation?" Vorex asked. "No, sir," Thrax replied. 3 Zeptarian soldiers suffered minor injuries when a resistance group detonated an improvised explosive. The perpetrators were publicly executed, and the Calraxi never resisted again. Vorex nodded. "The Drovaks?" "Surrendered immediately, sir." "The Pelaxians?" "Attempted diplomatic negotiations, sir. When those failed, they too surrendered." Vorex's 4 eyes narrowed as he stared at the battle map again. "But the humans?" A proximity alarm blared, cutting him off. Thrax rushed to the sensor station, his exoskeleton clicking against the metallic floor. "Sir, multiple human vessels dropping out of FTL. They've found us again." Vorex slammed his stimulant cup down, shattering it. "Battle stations. All ships, defensive formation Delta." As the command center erupted into frantic activity, Vorex couldn't help but reflect on the moment everything had gone wrong. The moment the mighty Zeptarian Empire had made a mistake that would cost them everything. The moment they decided to make an example of those human females. "We should have killed them all," Vorex whispered, "or left them completely alone." The occupation of Earth's lunar colony had been laughably easy. Like taking candy from a larval offspring, Admiral Krex had boasted during the initial briefing. "Their defenses are minimal, their weapons primitive, and their resolve questionable at best." The lunar base, they called it Armstrong City, housed approximately 12,000 humans. It served as both a research facility and a launching point for their tentative exploration of their own solar system. The humans had been so proud of it, broadcasting endless propaganda about their giant leap beyond their homeworld. The Zeptarian battlecruisers descended on Armstrong City during what the humans called night shift. Resistance lasted exactly 7 minutes and 23 seconds. Zeptarian casualties, 0. The base commander wishes to negotiate terms of surrender, Communications Officer Balls reported with obvious amusement. Should I put her through? Admiral Krex reclined in his command chair. Her? The base is commanded by a female? Yes, Admiral. Human designation, Commander Jessica Barnes. She commands a staff that includes several other females in positions of authority. Krex's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among Zeptarians. How quaint. These humans allow their females to play at military service. Put her through. This should be entertaining. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing the face of Commander Barnes. Her expression betrayed no fear, only a cold determination that momentarily caught Krex off guard. This is Commander Jessica Barnes of Armstrong City. You have attacked a peaceful research installation without provocation or warning. I demand to know your intentions. Krex recovered quickly. Demands? You are in no position to make demands, female. I am Admiral Krex of the glorious Zeptarian Empire. Your pathetic base belongs to us now, as will your entire planet shortly. Barnes didn't flinch. We have civilian scientists and families here. If you... Spare me your concerns, Krex interrupted. Surrender immediately and unconditionally. Your people will be processed according to Zeptarian protocols. What happened next would later be identified by Zeptarian military historians as critical mistake number 1. Barnes and her senior staff, including 5 other female officers, attempted to activate the base's self-destruct mechanism rather than surrender. They failed, of course. Zeptarian technicians had already disabled all such systems. But the attempt itself was noted and reported to High Command. The response from High Command was swift and unambiguous. Make an example of the females. You demonstrate the price of defiance. 3 days later, Commander Barnes and her 5 female officers stood on a hastily constructed platform in Armstrong City's central dome. Primitive nooses chosen specifically because intelligence suggested this method of execution held particular historical horror for humans were placed around their necks. This broadcast is being transmitted to all communication devices on Earth, Admiral Krex announced to the assembled lunar colonists, and the cameras capturing every moment. Your leaders thought to send females to resist us? Watch what happens to those who defy the Zeptarian Empire. Commander Barnes stood straight, her eyes burning with defiance. Earth will never. The platform dropped. 6 bodies fell. 6 necks broke with sickening cracks that echoed through the pressurized dome. There was a collective gasp from the human colonists, quickly silenced by Zeptarian shock troopers. On Earth, the broadcast cut to static. Now we wait for their surrender, Krex said confidently, mandibles clicking in satisfaction. 15 species before them have taught us that a proper demonstration of consequences brings swift capitulation. For 3 days there was nothing but silence from Earth. No transmissions, no attempted communications, no signs of mobilization. Orbital scans showed humans going about their normal activities, traveling in their primitive vehicles, gathering in their dwelling clusters, continuing their inefficient production processes. You see? Krex gestured to the surveillance feeds. They're paralyzed with fear. They've shut down communications to debate the terms of their surrender. Sub-Commander Pellex wasn't so certain. Sir, our xenopsychologists suggest this behavior is unusual. Previous species typically initiated immediate diplomatic contact after such a demonstration. Krex dismissed this concern with a wave of his clawed hand. Different species, different response patterns. The result will be the same, total submission. The silence from Earth stretched to a full week. Trex interpreted this as excellent news. The longer they take to respond, the more desperate they are, he told his officers. They're probably fighting amongst themselves about who will deliver their unconditional surrender. What none of the Zeptarians realized at the time, what they couldn't possibly understand, was that Earth wasn't silent because of fear or indecision. Earth was silent because it was preparing. And the humans weren't debating surrender. They were planning war. Admiral Grax was not having a good day. Week? Month? Whatever? What do you mean gone? He snarled, all four eyes blinking rapidly in agitation. An entire outpost doesn't just disappear. The messenger drone hovered nervously, its artificial intelligence sophisticated enough to recognize when a high-ranking Zeptarian was about to have someone's exoskeleton stripped for decorative purposes. Apologies, most exalted Admiral, the drone chirped. Monitoring Station Theta 7 ceased all communications approximately 14 standard hours ago. The automated distress beacon activated for precisely 3.2 seconds before it too went silent. Grax paced the command deck, his claws clicking against the polished obsidian floor. Send a scout ship. Immediately. This was the third outpost to go dark in as many days. First, the mining operation on the red planet the humans called Mars. Then the communications relay in the asteroid belt. Now Theta 7, which had been monitoring Earth's pathetic attempts at space travel. Most perceptive Admiral, the drone continued. Scout Ship Dominator was dispatched to investigate the Mars facility 18 hours ago and has failed to report back. What? Grax roared, causing several junior officers to flinch visibly. Why wasn't I informed? You were engaged in your mandatory relaxation period, magnificently terrifying Admiral. Sub-Commander Vorex did not wish to disturb. Get me Vorex, now. The command center erupted into frantic activity. Screens flashed with status reports, communications officers clicked desperately at their consoles, and the distinct smell of Zeptarian stress pheromones filled the recycled air. Sir, a young communications officer shouted over the chaos. Urgent transmission from Proxima Station. Proxima Station was the pride of the Zeptarian Advance Force. A massive space station positioned in the Proxima Centauri system, it served as the forward command center for the planned invasion of Earth. Over 2,000 Zeptarian military personnel, 4 battlecruisers, and dozens of support vessels were stationed there. Put it through, Grax ordered, straightening his ceremonial armor. Perhaps this would be good news for a change. The main view screen flickered to life, showing not the expected face of Station Commander Gilles, but a scene of absolute chaos. Alarms blared, emergency lights flashed, and Zeptarians ran in every direction. A junior officer, his uniform torn and stained with the distinctive purple of Zeptarian blood, stared wild-eyed into the camera. Under attack. Unknown vessels appeared from nowhere, weapons we've never seen, shields useless. The transmission cut to static as something exploded behind the officer. Get that back. Grax bellowed. Tactical analysis. Now. The tactical officer, Pix, looked up from her console, mandibles trembling. Sir, we're detecting massive energy discharges in the Proxima system. Based on the readings, Proxima Station it's gone, sir. Impossible. Grax slammed his fist onto a nearby console, cracking its surface. What about our ships? 2 battlecruisers destroyed. 1 heavily damaged and attempting to retreat. One appears to have been captured intact. The command center fell silent. The Zeptarian Empire had not lost a battlecruiser in over 300 cycles. The idea that primitives like humans could destroy 2 and capture another was inconceivable. Sir, Pix continued, her voice barely audible. We're receiving reports from across the system. Human vessels have been detected using some form of stealth technology. They're appearing without warning, striking hard, and disappearing before our forces can respond effectively. That's impossible, Grax whispered, but with considerably less conviction than before. Their technology is primitive. They don't have FTL capability, let alone stealth systems or weapons that could. Sir. Another officer interrupted. We're detecting an energy signature matching the attack on Proxima Station. It's heading for Theta 9. Grax collapsed into his command chair. Theta 9 was their largest surveillance outpost, with a crew of over 300. Warn them. Order immediate evacuation. They're not responding, sir, and the energy signature just vanished from our sensors. The command center erupted into panicked discussion. How were the humans doing this? How had they developed such technology so quickly? How had intelligence failed so catastrophically? Grax stared at the tactical display, watching as another Zeptarian outpost winked out of existence. The humans weren't fighting like any species the Empire had encountered before. They didn't mass their forces for grand battles. They didn't announce their attacks with ultimatums or demands. They struck from nowhere, hit hard, and disappeared. And they were targeting military installations exclusively. No civilian targets. No resource centers. Only military. They're hunting us, Grax realized aloud, methodically, patiently, like we're prey. The messenger drone, forgotten in the chaos, hovered closer to Grax. Most analytical admiral, new data suggests the humans are employing what their military history designates as guerrilla tactics. They are utilizing superior knowledge of local space to conduct hit and run attacks while avoiding direct confrontation with our main fleet. Grax turned all four eyes toward the drone. And how exactly do you know this? The captured humans from Armstrong City have been most informative under questioning, Admiral. Though they insist that what we are witnessing now is merely, in their words, the warm-up act. For the first time in his distinguished military career, Admiral Grax felt something alien and uncomfortable crawling up his spine. The humans had a word for it. Fear. The Imperial War Council chamber on Zeptar Prime was designed to intimidate. Massive columns of polished black stone rose 30 meters to a ceiling adorned with holographic displays of conquered worlds. The central table, carved from the crystallized remains of the last Galactic Emperor, seated the 12 most powerful military minds in the Zeptarian Empire. Currently, 11 of those minds were loudly arguing while the 12th, Grand Marshal Kazex, rubbed his temple ridges in growing frustration. Enough. Kazex finally bellowed, silencing the chamber instantly. This bickering is beneath the dignity of this council. Admiral Zentra, your report, please. And spare us your usual melodrama. Admiral Zentra, her exoskeleton decorated with the kill markings of 7 successful planetary subjugations, straightened her posture. The situation is concerning but manageable, Grand Marshal. Yes, we have lost several outposts and a regrettable number of ships, but these are acceptable tactical losses in the grand scheme of conquest. Acceptable? Admiral Grax interrupted, his voice dripping with sarcasm. We've lost 27% of our forward fleet in less than 2 lunar cycles. The humans are targeting our command and control systems with disturbing precision. Zentra's mandibles clicked dismissively. The humans got lucky. They caught us by surprise with a few technological innovations we failed to anticipate. Such advantages are always temporary. Perhaps, Kazex said thoughtfully, we should consider what motivates their aggression. Our xenopsychologists suggest. Primitive revenge fantasies, interrupted General Vrax, the Council's most decorated ground forces commander. These humans are upset about those females we executed. Typical emotional response from an underdeveloped species. They'll exhaust themselves soon enough. The intelligence director, Nex, who had remained silent until now, let out a sound halfway between a laugh and a cough. With respect, General, I believe you fundamentally misunderstand the situation. All 4 of Nex's eyes had the milky appearance of one who had replaced natural vision with direct neural interfacing. The intelligence director saw data, not people, and right now, the data troubled him. Our attempts to gather intelligence on human military capabilities have failed spectacularly, Nex continued. We've sent 12 infiltration teams to Earth. None have reported back. Our deep space listening posts have detected encrypted communications we cannot break. And our prisoners. Nex paused, clearly uncomfortable. What about the prisoners? Kazex demanded. They laugh, sir. When questioned about Earth's military response, they laugh, even under advanced interrogation techniques. The council chamber fell silent as each member processed this disturbing information. One prisoner did tell us something, Nex added. Just before he expired, his exact words were, "You messed with the wrong species." General Vorex snorted derisively. Meaningless bravado. Is it? Nex projected a hologram in the center of the table. This is footage from the bridge of the Dreadnought Invincible before it was destroyed last cycle. The hologram showed the bridge of a Zeptarian warship. Warning lights flashed, officers shouted reports of systems failures, and the captain barked desperate orders. Then the view screen showed a human vessel appearing seemingly from nowhere, far too close for comfort. A transmission came through. A human face appeared on screen, a female with dark skin and eyes that seemed to burn with cold fury. This is Captain Diana Wells of the Earth Defense Force, the human said calmly. You hanged our women. This is our answer. The transmission cut. The human ship fired once. The recording ended in static. One shot, Nex said quietly. One shot to destroy our most advanced dreadnought. Kazex's claws drummed anxiously on the crystal table. These humans, they don't negotiate. They don't make demands. They don't seek territory or resources. What do they want? Nex's artificial eyes glinted in the chamber's dim light. Based on all available data, Grand Marshal, they want only one thing, to destroy us. Completely. Until now, we've applied our standard Conquest protocols to the humans. But they are not responding according to any known behavioral patterns. Admiral Zentra scoffed. You speak as if these primitives present an existential threat to the Empire. We have conquered 15 species. We span 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. We have never, Nex interrupted, encountered a species that responds to aggression by completely unifying their planet overnight. We have never encountered a species that concealed advanced technology until it was strategically advantageous to reveal it. And we have certainly never encountered a species that, upon witnessing the execution of 6 of their kind, decided that the proportional response was the complete annihilation of their enemy. General Vorex slammed his fist on the table. What are you suggesting, Director? That we retreat? That the mighty Zeptarian Empire should cower before a species that only recently learned how to split the atom? Nex's artificial eyes focused on the General. I'm suggesting, General, that we have made a grave miscalculation. The humans have a concept they call vengeance. Our language doesn't even have a word for it. The closest approximation is disproportionate retaliation, and they have elevated it to an art form. As if to punctuate Nex's statement, an alarm blared throughout the chamber. A communications officer burst through the doors, mandibles trembling in distress. Grand Marshal. 3 human fleets have just been detected on approach to our core systems. They'll be within strike range in less than 6 hours. The War Council erupted into chaos once again. Amid the shouting, Nex caught Kazex's eye and said something only the Grand Marshal could hear. You messed with the wrong species indeed. The Zeptarian research vessel Relentless Truth drifted, powerless and dying, in the shadow of Jupiter's largest moon. Commander Vorex P. Laeth watched in horrified fascination as his science team examined the weapons fragments that had crippled his once proud ship. Impossible, Chief Scientist Malix whispered, her voice trembling. Simply impossible. Vorex limped closer, his exoskeleton cracked from the impact when the human weapons had struck. Explain. You as Malix held up a twisted piece of metal, still glowing with an eerie blue light. This is a quantum destabilizer. It targets the specific atomic frequency of Zeptarian alloys. On contact, it causes a cascading molecular breakdown. I don't need a science lesson, Vorex snapped. What does it mean? It means, Malix said, all four eyes fixed on her commander, that the humans designed weapons specifically to destroy our ships while leaving their own unharmed. Even if our vessels were right next to each other, only ours would be affected. Vorex's mandibles clicked in agitation. How could they possibly know the atomic frequency of our hull alloys? That's highly classified information. That's not all, Malix continued, ignoring her commander's outburst. She activated a holographic display showing medical scans of injured crew members. The radiation from their secondary weapons? It affects only Zeptarian neural pathways. It bypasses our shielding as if it wasn't there and targets our brains specifically. The emergency lighting in the lab flickered, a reminder that life support systems were failing. They had perhaps 6 hours before the backup generators gave out completely. They've been studying us, Vorex realized, cold dread washing over him. While we were observing them, dismissing them as primitives, they were dissecting our technology, learning our weaknesses. Commander. A communications officer burst into the lab, his exoskeleton stained with the purple blood of injured crewmates. Priority message from High Command. Colonies Zarnax, Beltar, and Vorvex Prime have fallen. Vorex staggered backward. All three? That's impossible. They're in different sectors, hundreds of light years apart. Simultaneous attacks, sir. Coordinated down to the millisecond. The humans, the officer's voice caught. The humans completely overwhelmed our defenses with technologies we've never seen before. Survivors report weapons that seemed to predict our tactical responses before we made them. Artificial intelligence, Malix said quietly. The advanced predictive algorithms. They're using our own tactical manuals against us. Vorex felt his exoskeleton grow cold. Those 3 colonies represented nearly 7 million Zeptarian citizens. Military installations, yes, but also civilian populations. Families, children. Casualties? He forced himself to ask. The communications officer's mandibles trembled. Minimal, sir. That's the strangest part. The humans evacuated our civilians before destroying the military infrastructure. They're sending the civilian transports back toward Zeptar Prime with supplies and medical personnel. A long, stunned silence filled the failing laboratory. This defied all logic, all military doctrine. What species devoted resources to caring for enemy civilians during a full-scale war? The silence was broken by a sudden blaring of alarms. The few functioning sensors on the Relentless Truth had detected something massive appearing nearby. Battle stations. Vorex shouted reflexively, before remembering their weapons and engines were offline. They were completely defenseless. The main view screen activated, showing the vast emptiness of space near Jupiter. Then, like ghosts materializing from the void itself, human ships appeared. Not 1 or 2, but hundreds. A vast armada that had somehow remained completely undetected until this moment. Stealth technology, Malix breathed. Beyond anything we could imagine. They were here all along. A transmission cut through the static on their communication system. A human male appeared on screen, wearing what appeared to be a formal military uniform adorned with symbols of rank. This is Admiral Marcus Blackwood of the United Earth Defense Force. Your vessel has been disabled, not destroyed. Prepare to be boarded. Your wounded will receive medical attention. You have my word. Vorex stepped forward, drawing himself up to his full height despite his injuries. This is Commander Vorex P. Why are you doing this? Why not simply destroy us as we would have destroyed you? The human's expression remained impassive, but something flickered in his eyes. Because we're not you, Commander. and because I want you to deliver a message to your leaders." "What message?" Vorex asked. "That we've been preparing for this moment for 5 years." Vorex's mandibles went slack with shock. 5 years? But we only discovered your planet 9 months ago. For the first time, the human's expression changed, a slight upward curl of his lips that Zeptarian xenologists would later identify as a smile. But there was no warmth in it. "Did you really think yours was the first Zeptarian scout ship to find Earth? We detected your advanced scouts 5 years ago. We captured them, studied them, learned everything about your species, your technology, your tactics, your physiology. While your leaders were deciding whether our planet was worth conquering, we were preparing for war." Vorex felt the deck seemed to shift beneath him as the implications sank in. "The technology gap, your primitive space program, it was all a deception," Admiral Blackwood confirmed. "One your arrogance made all too easy to maintain. We kept our advanced technology hidden. Let you think we were an easy target. Allowed your spy satellites to see exactly what we wanted them to see." "But why?" Vorex asked, genuinely bewildered. "If you knew we were coming, why not warn us away? Why let us establish a foothold in your system at all?" The human admiral's face hardened. "Because, Commander, we needed to know what kind of species you were, whether you could be reasoned with, whether peaceful coexistence was possible." The human's eyes grew cold. "And then you hanged our women." The transmission ended, leaving Commander Vorex staring at his own reflection in the darkened screen. Behind him, the vast human fleet began to move, not toward the crippled Zeptarian vessel, but onward toward the heart of the Zeptarian Empire. For the first time in the 12,000-year history of the Zeptarian Empire, Vorex realized they weren't the predators. They were the prey. The Grand Imperial Palace on Zeptar Prime had never hosted aliens before. For 12 millennia, it had been the exclusive domain of the Zeptarian ruling elite, its towering spires and gleaming domes a symbol of uncontested galactic dominance. Today, those spires stood damaged from orbital strikes, and those domes were cracked from weapons that defied Zeptarian understanding. And today, for the first time, a human walked its hallowed halls. Grand Emperor Belzac, ruler of the 3-armed spiral and conqueror of 15 species, fidgeted nervously on his crystalline throne. Around him, the imperial court watched in stunned silence as the human delegate approached. Mason Reeves, Special Envoy of United Earth, announced the court herald, voice quavering slightly. The human walked with unsettling confidence across the vast chamber. He wore no environmental suit, despite the atmosphere being optimized for Zeptarian biology. He carried no visible weapons, despite being surrounded by potential enemies. Most disturbing of all, he showed no fear whatsoever. "Your Imperial Majesty," Reeves said, offering a slight nod that fell well short of the prostration protocol demanded. "I appreciate your willingness to meet." Belzac's 4 eyes narrowed. "We did not invite you here, human. You forced this meeting by destroying half our orbital defense network." Reeves smiled thinly. "A necessary demonstration of our commitment to this conversation. I believe your military doctrine calls it establishing negotiating leverage. We've read your manuals, all of them." The Emperor's mandibles clicked in agitation. "State your terms, human. What will it take for your species to cease this unprovoked aggression against our glorious empire?" Several members of the court gasped at the Emperor's words. Never in living memory had a Zeptarian ruler asked for terms from another species. Reeves raised an eyebrow. "Unprovoked? Is that the official position of your government? That the public execution of Commander Jessica Barnes and her officers was what? A cultural misunderstanding? They resisted imperial authority," snapped Defense Minister Grax. "The consequences were clearly established." Reeves turned his gaze to the minister, who involuntarily took a step backward. "Humanity is unified in its response to your actions, Minister. Every nation, every faction that once squabbled amongst themselves now stands as one. Our terms are simple. The human activated a small device. A holographic document appeared in the air between him and the Emperor. First, immediate and complete withdrawal of all Zeptarian forces from Earth, its solar system, and a buffer zone extending 50 light-years in all directions. Murmurs rippled through the court. Such a demand was unprecedented. Second, reparations for damages caused to lunar infrastructure and compensation to the families of all humans killed in your invasion. Emperor Belzac's exoskeleton flushed with the deep purple of rage. You expect us to pay tribute to primitives? Reeves continued as if the Emperor hadn't spoken. Third, and most importantly, those responsible for ordering and carrying out the executions will stand trial for war crimes under Earth's unified justice system. Absurd. The Emperor rose from his throne, towering over the human envoy. You demand we hand over Imperial officials to be judged by lesser beings? The Zeptarian Empire has ruled the stars since your ancestors were cowering in caves, and we conquered 15 species. We. 14. Reeves interrupted calmly. The Emperor paused. What? 14 species. As of 6 hours ago, the Calraxi have been liberated. They send their regards, by the way. Stunned silence filled the Imperial chamber. The Calraxi had been the Empire's first conquest, nearly 12,000 years ago. Reeves glanced at his timepiece. I need your answer within the next 10 minutes, Your Majesty. After that, my instructions are to return to our fleet. And I should warn you, Admiral Blackwood is considerably less diplomatic than I am. Emperor Belzac sank back onto his throne, mandibles working soundlessly for several seconds before he found his voice. And if we refuse these demands? For the first time, something cold and hard entered the human's expression. Then we finish what we started. Your colonies fall one by one. Your fleets are disabled or destroyed. Your empire collapses. We've run the simulations, Your Majesty. 10,000 of them. You lose in every scenario. The Emperor leaned forward, voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. You would exterminate our entire species over 6 female soldiers? Reeves met the Emperor's gaze unflinchingly. No, unlike you, we don't commit genocide. Every simulation ends with Zeptarian surrender and the liberation of all conquered species. We've already evacuated your civilians from 3 colony worlds without a single casualty. We're not monsters. The human's voice hardened. But we will have justice. Imperial Chancellor Thex approached the throne and whispered urgently into the Emperor's ear. After a tense moment, the Emperor waved him away. The Zeptarian Empire does not submit to threats, human. We have endured for 12 millennia. We will endure this. Your terms are rejected. Reeves nodded, as if he'd expected nothing less. I understand, Your Majesty. For what it's worth, I advised my government that you would respond this way. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and you might want to evacuate the southern continent. In about. He checked his timepiece again. 4 hours. It's going to become uninhabitable for Zeptarians. Don't worry. We've already begun relocating your civilians. They'll be safe in the northern territories. Before anyone could respond, the human walked calmly out of the Imperial chamber, leaving behind a court in chaos and an emperor who, for the first time in his long life, felt the cold grip of fear. 3 days later, as the Imperial Palace crumbled around him and reports flooded in of catastrophic defeats across all 3 spiral arms, Emperor Belzac realized his mistake. The humans hadn't been negotiating. They had simply been giving him a chance to surrender before the real war began. Commander Vorex P. Lath sat on the bridge of the inevitable victory, the last functioning Zeptarian flagship. Around him, the crew worked in grim silence, monitoring screens that showed nothing but disaster. Outside the armored viewports, the vast darkness of space was broken by the silhouettes of human warships, hundreds of them, surrounding his vessel in a perfect sphere of doom. Commander, his communications officer said quietly, another transmission from the human fleet. Vorex nodded wearily. Put it through. The main screen flickered to life, showing a human female with dark skin and eyes that held no mercy. Her uniform displayed insignia that Vorex now recognized as indicating high rank. Behind her stood a row of other humans, all female, all wearing the same expression of cold determination. "This is Admiral Diana Wells of the Earth Defense Force," the human said. "Your empire has been defeated. Your colonies have been liberated. Your emperor has been captured. The war is over." Vorex's mandibles clicked in bitter acknowledgement. "What are your terms, Admiral?" "Unconditional surrender. Your remaining forces will power down all weapons systems and prepare to be boarded. Your crew will be detained humanely until arrangements can be made for your return to what remains of Zeptarian territory." Vorex felt a flicker of surprise. "You're letting us live? Letting us return home?" For the first time, the human's expression changed slightly. "Commander Vorex, despite what your propaganda has told you, we never wanted to exterminate your species. We wanted justice. The architects of the war crimes against our people will stand trial. The rest of your kind will be allowed to rebuild under supervision and restrictions to ensure you never again threaten another species." Vorex slumped in his command chair. "I don't understand you humans. We would have shown no such mercy." "We know," the Admiral replied simply. "That's why you lost." Before Vorex could respond, another human stepped into view beside the Admiral. Vorex's four eyes widened in shock. It was a female in a distinctive uniform, one he recognized from historical records of the lunar base. Her hair was different, her face thinner, but it was unmistakably. "Commander Barnes?" he whispered. Jessica Barnes smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Not quite. I'm Captain Rebecca Barnes. Jessica was my twin sister." Vorex felt his exoskeleton grow cold. "But how? Our records confirmed all 6 executed females died." "Your records were wrong," Captain Barnes said flatly. "My sister and her officers did die. But you never knew what they looked like before you captured them. The women you hanged were volunteers, terminally ill patients who chose to die, giving humanity time to prepare. They were heroes who bought us the time we needed while you thought you'd eliminated our leadership." The revelation hit Vorex like a physical blow. Everything, absolutely everything, had been a deception. A trap laid with a patience and foresight his species could barely comprehend. "Before we end this transmission," Admiral Wells said, "I have a message from Earth, from all of humanity, something you should remember." The screen split to show hundreds of humans of all varieties. They spoke in perfect unison, their voices blending into a single, powerful declaration. "This is what happens when you hang our women." The transmission ended, leaving Vorex staring at his own reflection in the darkened screen. Around him, his crew waited silently for his command. After a long moment, he reached for the ship-wide communication system. "All personnel, this is Commander Vorex P. Lath. Power down all weapons systems. Prepare to be boarded. The war is over. We have lost." As the crew carried out his orders, Vorex turned to his second in command. "Thrax, what was our mistake? Where did we go wrong?" Thrax considered the question carefully. "We believed our own legends, sir. 12,000 years of conquest made us arrogant. We thought humans were like the other species we subjugated. We never considered that they might be different." Vorex nodded slowly. The intelligence director was right. We lacked the cultural context to understand them. We didn't grasp the concept of vengeance, of unified planetary response, of calculated patience. "Sir," Thrax said hesitantly, "intelligence reports from the remaining colonies suggest a new saying is spreading among the species we once conquered. Now that the humans have liberated them, they all repeat the same phrase." "What phrase?" Vorex asked, though he suspected he already knew. "Never anger the humans." Vorex let out a sound that might have been a laugh, had it not contained so much pain. a lesson the mighty Zeptarian Empire learned too late. Through the viewport, he watched as human shuttles approached his ship, not with weapons blazing but with systematic precision. The calculated efficiency of a species that had already won, that knew exactly what it was doing and why. "For what it's worth," Vorex said quietly, "I don't believe they're finished. The humans won't stop with defeating us. They'll reshape the galaxy, and may the stars help anyone who makes our mistake." "Which mistake, sir?" Thrax asked. Vorex looked back at the screen where the human transmission had appeared, remembering the cold determination in their eyes, the absolute unity of purpose. "Believing that compassion means weakness. The humans spared those who didn't deserve death. They evacuated our civilians. They're allowing our species to survive. But make no mistake, Thrax, their mercy is a choice, not a limitation." As the docking clamps engaged and the human boarding parties prepared to enter, Vorex had one final thought, one that would eventually become the cornerstone of the new galactic order. The true strength of humanity wasn't their technology, or their tactics, or even their unity in the face of aggression. It was their ability to show mercy when none was deserved, and to unleash hell when mercy was denied. A species capable of both was not just dangerous. It was unstoppable.